Hello everybody, welcome back to Simulated Heaven, and I've got a video for you to compare my opinions. And of course all of this video is my opinions, and I know that other people will have other opinions. They might not agree with me, that's fine. We're all allowed our own opinions in this world. So this is like my opinions of the T500RS and the Clubsport wheel and the Clubsport wheel rims, because I've used them both, as you guys probably already know if you have followed this channel. I started off with the T500RS a few years ago. I used it for at least a year, probably a year and a half actually, and it was a really nice wheel. But one day I was playing around with the firmware and I thought I'd actually broken it. I thought I'd actually bricked it. So I went ahead, because I'm a little bit impatient me, so I went ahead and ordered the Clubsport wheelbase and the GT2 wheel rim, which looks like this. And I've used that for about half a year, only half a year, and unfortunately the Fanatec wheel is now, well, was slightly broken. It had an issue where when I was trying to plug in the wheel rim was not recognized, so the buttons and the shifters weren't working at all. And then Fanatec were actually really good. They actually sent me out a replacement part. They offered to, they said if I would like to, I can actually send it into them for them to fix it, or they can send me out the part. So they sent me out a part and I had to install it. It was a little bit hard, not too hard, slightly technical, but I managed it and the wheel is working again. But obviously this whole kind of situation has really allowed me to have a good amount of experience with both of these wheels, and having used the T500RS first, then the Clubsport, and then more recently going back to the T500, it's really allowed me to compare them. So yeah, I thought I would do a video. So I would say that basically the thing that is really good about the Clubsport wheel is it's really well designed. I would say the materials they use is really good quality. It feels very realistic because they try and make the wheel and the wheel rim feel realistic, like almost exactly the same as if it's in a real car. For example, the wheel rim, if you have a look at it, it's a replica of a real one, of a real rim, but they've actually made it really nice. It feels really weighty in the hand. So the design and the quality of the materials is very, very good with the Clubsport. It's also very well ergonomically designed, especially for the rims. I really like the way that the rims feel. I really like the buttons. They have a really good amount of buttons. It also has an LED display on the wheel rim, which is really good. It has some dials, and the quality of everything here is really good. So yeah, I would say that's where the Clubsport wheel and the Clubsport rim works really, really well. Of course, you are actually paying for that. You're paying more for that. Like the Clubsport wheel, the base is $449 US, and that's only the base, and a rim is going to cost you $249. So already you're looking at about $750 for just the base and a rim. So it is a fair bit more expensive, because if we go over and look at the T500RS at Amazon, I mean whoopsie, that's the wrong thing. I mean this. No, hang on, ignore that. Let's go back. Sorry. The T500RS on Amazon, you can see the list price is $599.99. So you can see that you're paying about $150 more for the Clubsport wheel. Like I said, really good quality. It feels really realistic, really nice. However, one major area that I feel with this wheel is I feel that the quality, like the internals or the quality control, is not very good, really. I mean, I heard loads of stories of loads of people who said that the wheel had issues with the motor, with various internals where they had to fix it. Now, I thought when I bought it, that I was willing to take the risk, but my one only lasted for half a year before it had an issue. I mean, okay, it was not a major issue. It was just an issue with the connection from the rim onto the wheel. But still, if I am paying this amount of money for a wheel, I don't really expect that it will break after half a year. That kind of tells me that internals are just not quite as well made. Because on the other side, I mean, obviously the Thrustmaster T500RS, like I said, obviously it doesn't feel quite as high quality. The buttons aren't quite as good as on the Fanatec, and also it doesn't feel quite as realistic, as if you're actually driving a real car. Like, for example, the rim, it has like rubber around it as a coating, so it's not quite as realistic as on the Fanatec ones. However, I do actually quite like how the wheel feels in my hand. It does feel pretty nice, pretty weighty, so I do really like that. And I think the big thing is I haven't had any issues with the T500RS. The issue that I thought I had was an issue that I had created by playing around with the firmware, and in the end I was able to fix it by plugging it into another computer and resetting the firmware using another computer. So I haven't had any issues. The only issues I've had with the T500RS is that the pedals. So this is actually a set that comes with a set of pedals. Now, the pedals, I found you have to be really careful that they don't get slightly dirty. If they get slightly dirty, the contacts of the pedals, then it will start playing up and it won't work very well in the software. But that was the only issue. The actual wheel and the actual base I have owned for almost a couple of years now, and they still feel amazing. Like, the base is working really well. It feels really solid. I can't hear anything inside rattling around. The rim, I mean, the only thing I would say about the rim is the rubber is quite easy for you to mark up. So my actual wheel rim is slightly marked up, but it's not anything too serious, but slightly marked up. One of the things that people say about the design of the T500RS is that the paddles are not as good because they are static, which means they don't move around with the wheel, they stay in one place. So for example, if your hands are fully crossed over, it's going to be hard for you to change gear. Now, I don't really find this a major issue. There are some occasions when it's a little bit annoying, but I don't find it a major issue. But I know that there are people out there that would find this quite a major issue. But I don't really think it's that serious. It's slightly annoying, but only very, very, very occasionally, because it's not that often that my hands are fully crossed over, or crossed over enough that I can't reach the paddles, because they are actually quite large, so it is still fairly easy for you to reach them. Now, I've kind of talked about the design and the features of both of these wheels. Now, I should say, firstly, the T500RS is slightly cheaper, and you do actually get a set of pedals. Now, these are not very good pedals. I would say they're slightly better than the stock G27 pedals. However, you can actually buy an aftermarket mod, and that will allow you to add a load cell onto the brake, which will then make these into a pretty decent pedal set. So I think that's quite a bonus for the T500RS, that although the pedals that you get are not great, they're a really good base. And if you would like to add a mod, you can actually turn them into a really good set of pedals, because actually the materials used in the pedals are pretty good. It's just that, especially the brake, is not very good, because obviously when you are sim racing, it's very important that you have a brake that has a heavier pressure, so that it's harder for you to lock up the brakes and things like that. So yeah, so I think that's a bonus, that you do actually essentially get a free set of pedals with the T500RS. Of course, it's slightly cheaper, but the quality is not quite as much. So if you're the kind of guy that really wants to go for the higher quality, the more realistic feeling, then the Clubsport might be for you. But however, the issues that everyone seems to have with the Fanatec, with it braking, I mean, I would really like to see some information, like to see out of 100 Fanatec wheels that are sold in the lifetime of the product, how many of these people have to send it back, or they have to fix it. So I think that's a really big plus for the T500RS. I haven't had any issues with it. It's working really well. Now the other thing that's obviously important is how do they feel in a game, in a sim racing game. Now obviously I've been in quite a unique situation. I used the T500 first, then I've been using the Clubsport for about half a year, and then recently, about a month ago, I switched back to the T500RS. And actually I was quite surprised. I actually prefer the feeling of the force feedback and how it feels in games. The T500, I actually prefer it slightly to the Clubsport. Not a lot, just a tiny bit. It feels really nice, and if you were to compare the force feedback, there's just a slightly more refined, a slightly more detailed force feedback, in my opinion, with the T500RS. It's not a big difference, just slightly, just a little bit. The Clubsport still has really good force feedback. It feels really nice, but I just slightly prefer the T500, and I kind of realized that when I recently had to reinstall the T500 back onto my rig. So really, I would say at the end of this video, in my opinion, the T500RS is the wheel that I would take over the Clubsport. I do really like the Clubsport. It is still an amazing wheel. It feels really nice. It feels realistic, but I just can't accept the slightly lower internals, the quality, and all of the issues that people are having. Then on the flip side, the T500RS personally has worked really well. I haven't had any issues about it breaking or overheating or anything like that. And on top of that, it feels slightly nicer, in my opinion. So yeah, overall, personally, I would go for the T500RS. And I have, after I reinstalled the T500RS back onto my sim rig, I've been enjoying it so much that even after the Fanatec is fixed, I have put it away in a box, and it looks like it's not going to be coming out for a while, because right now I'm really enjoying the T500RS, and I've been enjoying it so much that I ordered another wheel rim, because like I said, the wheel rim of the T500RS, because it's got a rubberized rim, the coating I mean, it does get slightly scratched up, and my one, because it's a few years old now, does look slightly scratched up and slightly old. Not that bad, just a little bit. So I thought, hey, I will buy another steering wheel, another add-on steering wheel, and the one I ordered is the Ferrari one, the GTE Ferrari one. So this is $130, and again, from what I've heard, the quality of this is not quite as good as the Fanatec wheel, but then again, the Fanatec wheel rim is $100 more. Anyway, I have heard it's a good wheel. Now, one thing I should say as well really about the T500RS is it doesn't have a quick release. It only has it if you buy one of these add-on wheels. So this Ferrari wheel, it actually comes with a quick release system. I've heard, although I haven't really experienced obviously, but I've heard that the Fanatec quick release is slightly better than the Thrustmaster one. It's a lot faster and easier for you to use, but at least after I have bought this add-on rim, at least I have a quick release function, because it's quite annoying on the sim rig that when I am not actually playing a simulator, like a racing game, if I am playing an FPS game, it's quite annoying that I have a wheel in my face. So after buying the add-on Ferrari wheel, then at least I will have an option of using the quick release and taking it off, and also the wheel is not quite as large as the stock T500RS wheel. So that will, I think, help so that it won't obscure the monitor quite as much when I am playing a game that's not a racing game. So there you go, guys. That's my personal opinion of the T500RS and the Clubsport wheel. Of course, like I said at the beginning, this is my opinion, and I completely accept that there will be other people out there that have differing opinions, but I just wanted to put my opinion out there. And of course, if you have any questions about this, please leave a comment in the comment section below. I've tried as much as I can to cover all of the details, but of course there might be a few things that I might have missed. So if you have a question, please leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.